Namaskaram and welcome to the Heritage of India classes, Prabandhams and Stotrams. So the topic from today is going to be Sri Madhurakavi AzhvAr's Prabandham called kaNNinuN siruttAmbu. And the content for today, the agenda for today is going to be this. So we are going to learn one final padigam, which we have not learned so far. I'll teach that today. And then I will give an introduction to this Prabandham, so that will probably take the bulk of today's time. And then if there is time, we will get into the kaNNinuns for this Prabandham. And then we will also do one or two pasrams, depending on whether we have the time or not, okay? So this Prabandham by Madhurakavi AzhvAr is a very famous one. It illustrates the principle of acharya nishtai. Madhurakavi AzhvAr was a quintessential example of something called acharya nishtai, and that means depending on the acharyan for your salvation, for your sharanagati. And so we will see that in more details. His devotion to his acharyan and his dependence on the acharyan for his salvation. So that we will study that extensively today as part of the avatarika or introduction. Okay, and I've already started the recording. So the padigam girl, I said there's one padigam that I would like to teach today. So far we have started the padigams with this obeisance to Swami Desikan, and this is the so-called Vadakalai padigam. There's also a Tenkalai Sampradayam padigam, which we will teach today, and then that will round out this whole thing. And so that one is a salutation of Sri Manavala Mamunigar. And so this Manavala Mamunigar was one of the great acharyas of the post-Ramanuja, post-Deshikan time period. He was actually born in the 14th century, and I think much of his work came in the 15th century. And he was instrumental in popularizing Divya Prabandhams. He gave many upanyasams on Divya Prabandhams. And he also wrote many granthams. For example, he wrote something called Thiruvaimozhi Nootrandadi, which was kind of a summary of Sri Nammarvar's Thiruvaimozhi. So Nammarvar's Thiruvaimozhi had 100 padigams, each padigam having about 11 pasrams in it. So for those 100 padigams, so this Thiruvaimozhi Nootrandadi, for example, has one small verse summarizing a whole padigam. So essentially, for every padigam that you have in Thiruvaimozhi, Sri Manavala Mamunigar composed one pasuram or one verse, kind of summarizing or glorifying that particular padigam. So that's Thiruvaimozhi Nootrandadi. He also wrote other works called Upadesha Ratnamalai. That's also a Tamil work. And then he was also greatly attached to Bhagavat Ramanujar, even though he came 400 or 500 years later. In fact, Bhagavat Ramanujar is supposed to be an incarnation of Adisesha, and according to the Sampradayam, Sri Manavala Mamunigar is also an incarnation of Adisesha. And so you will find that he wrote another work called Yatiraja Vimsati in praise of Bhagavat Ramanujar. Yatiraja, which means the Raja of Sannyasis or the King of Sannyasis, that's the name that refers to Bhagavat Ramanujar. So Manavala Mamunigar wrote another work called Yatiraja Vimsati. So Vimsati means 20 verses or so. So any work that has 20 or so verses will be called a Vimsati or can be called a Vimsati. And so in fact, you may remember this, that Swami Desikan also wrote something in praise of Bhagavat Ramanuja that's called Yatiraja Saptati, because that one has 70 verses in it, 70 plus verses in it. So Saptati means 70 verses or so. Anyway, so so those are some of the works of Manavala Mamunigar: Thiruvaimozhi Nootrandadi, Upadesha Ratnamalai, Yatiraja Vimsati. And his birth name was Aragia Manavala Perumal Nayanar. And he also wrote commentaries on several works of other acharyas like Pillai Lokacharya, for example. Okay, but anyway, so that's a brief introduction to Swami Manavala Mamunigal. And so this Poduttaniyan, Sri Shailesha Dayapatram, the kind of it in structure, it seems similar to this one, Ramanuja Dayapatram, Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam. So it talks about his Acharyan and how he was a receptacle of his own Acharyan's mercy. And then it mentioned a couple of great attributes of that Acharyan. And then it goes on to say, I salute that Acharyan, right? So that's essentially what this one does as well. So here the Acharyan of Sri Manavala Mamunigal is someone called Thiruvaimuri Pillai. And that Thiruvaimuri Pillai is also known as Sri Shailesha. So Sri Shailesha Dayapatram essentially means that Sri Manavala Mamunigal was the receptacle. I'm using that color code again, carried on from the Bhagavad Jnana Sopanam. So you will be able to relate the original Sanskrit words to the meaning in the English passage here. So he was a receptacle of the mercy of Sri Shailesha, who was his Acharya. So that's the first part. And then Dhi Bhaktyadi Gunarnavam. So Arnavam means ocean. So he was an ocean of gunas, such as Dhi means intellect, if you will, or wisdom, and then Bhakti. So Bhakti is, of course, devotion. So he was an ocean of gunas such as wisdom and Bhakti. And then Yatindra Pranavam, just like Yatiraja means the king of sannyasis, Yatindra also means the same thing, the leader of sannyasis. So Yatindra is the same thing as Yatiraja, which of course means it's Bhagavat Ramanuja. So Yatindra Pranavam. So it means that the Yatindra or Bhagavat Ramanuja was very dear to Swami Manavala Mamunigal, Sri Manavala Mamunigal. Pranavam, that was his life. So Bhagavat Ramanuja was his life almost. That's how much he respected Bhagavat Ramanuja. So that's what this means. Yatindra Pranavam. Then Vande. Vande means I salute or I bow to. And now this is an interesting phrase here. Ramyaja Mataram Munim. Now I told you that his original name was Aragya Manavalan. His birth name was Aragya Manavalan. Aragya Manavalan, by the way, is also one of the names of Srirangam Perumal, Aragya Manavalan. Aragya means handsome. Manavalan means a couple of different things. Manavalan could mean Mapillai, as in bridegroom, or son-in-law, and it can also mean a husband. For example, Manalane Mangayin Bhagyam, etc. So the Manavalane Mangayin Bhagyam, that's the name of a movie. But anyway, so that Manavalan, Aragya Manavalan, so that was the name given to him. So that means a handsome son-in-law or handsome bridegroom, if you will. And that's exactly the translation here. So Ramya means Aragya, it's handsome. Jamataram. So Jamatru in Sanskrit, it means exactly the same thing. Jamatru means it could be the son-in-law, it could be the husband. And it's kind of interesting. So the word Manavalan has a couple of different meanings in Tamil. And this word Jamatru in Sanskrit also has a couple of different meanings. And in fact, the same couple of different meanings that the Tamil word Manavalan has. So Ramya Jamataram Munim essentially means Aragya Manavala Munivar. So it's effectively, this is just a name. This is a reference to Sri Manavala Mamunigal using his birth name of Aragya Manavalan. Okay, so Aragya Manavalan was one of the names of Sri Rangam Perumal. It was also the birth name of Manavala Mamunigal. Okay, and the interesting thing is that Manavala Mamunigal was born in AzhvAr Tirunagari, and you should know that sthalam by now, because that's the sthalam, the exact sthalam in which Sri Nammarvar was born as well. Okay. Okay, so that's the new Taniyan that we are learning. So from now on, we will be chanting all these Taniyans. I call this 1A and 1B instead of 1 and 2. It's because in some cases in the Vadakalai Sampradayam, people might recite 1A and then move on to what I call 2. In Tenkalai Sampradayam, people may recite 1B and move on to number 2. So because of that, I'm calling them 1A and 1B. But here we will recite the 1A, 1B, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 as well. And so, the Vadakalai and the Tenkalai sects, I'm teaching this with the hope, with the prayer that there be greater harmony among these two sects in the future, that there be greater tolerance and greater understanding, etc. We will see that. Okay, so let me try to chant it, and you can chant after me. So the first time I chant, it'll be just by myself. You can listen to it. The second time I chant, just chant it along with me. Okay, so first line by line, and then we'll chant the whole verse together. Sri Shailesha Dayapatram Dhibhakyadi Gunarnavam Sri Shailesha Dayapatram Dhibhakyadi Gunarnavam Yatindra Pranavam Vande Ramyajamataram Munim Yatindra Pranavam Vande Ramyajamataram Munim. Now I think we can try to chant this whole verse together. So chant with me. Sri Shailesha Dayapatram Dhibhakyadi Gunarnavam Yatindra Pranavam Vande Ramyajamataram Munim. Okay, so this you will find in the Prapatti printout of the Pudutanians, and so it will be mentioned as the second Pudutanian. And from now on, we will recite all the Pudutanians, including this. Okay, so this, since we are back to Divya Prabandhams, we will start the session by chanting all the Pudutanians. So you can keep yourself muted and chant all of them with me. Okay, so here we go. Ramanuja Daya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimad Venkatanathāryam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Sri Shailesha Daya Patram Dhibhakyadi Gunarnavam Yatindra Pranavam Vande Ramyajamataram Munim Lakshmi Natha Samarambham Nathayamuna Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Yo Nityamachyuta Padam Vujayugma Rukma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmad Guror Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye Mata Pita Yuvatayastanaya Vibhuti Sarvam Yadeva Niyamena Madanvayanam Adyasya Nahkula Paterva Kulabhiramam Srimat Tadanghriyugalam Pranamami Mudna Bhutam Sarasya Mahadahvaya Bhattanatha Shri Bhakti Sarakula Shekhara Yogi Vahana Bhaktangrirenu Parakala Yatindra Mishran Srimat Parankusha Munim Pranatosmi Nityam. Okay, so those are the Pudutanians. And now, as an introduction to this Prabandham, we have this Avatarike. So I want to say a few words about madhurakavi AzhvAr and this Prabandham and the idea, the great idea behind this Prabandham. Okay, so madhurakavi AzhvAr, his Avatara Sthalam is called Tirukkolur, and that's near Tirunelveli. So if you look at the map here, so you have the Tamrabarni river flowing. This is in the deep south part of Tamil Nadu. And so there's the Tamrabarni river. And the box here shows AzhvAr Tirunagari, which is the birthplace of Sri Nammalvar. And now you know that it's also the birthplace of Sri Manavada Mamunigal as well. And Tirukkolur is very, very close to that. So very, very close to that. It's just a few kilometers away from AzhvAr Tirunagari. And in fact, these two kshetrams, they are part of something called Navatirupati. Navatirupati includes such kshetras as Sri Vaikuntham, Nattam, Irattai Tirupati, which is actually two kshetrams in one. Puliyangudi, Perungulam, Tendirupperai, Tirukkolur, and Azhvar Tirunagari. So this Navatirupati is in the Tamaravarni basin, and it's near Tirunelveli. You know, normally when people talk about going to Divya Desams, they often talk about going to temples that are in the Kaveri basin, but you need to know that there is a Tamaravarni basin as well, and Tamaravarni Valley, if you will, and there are quite a few famous thalams in that area as well. So I just mentioned Navatirupati, but there are others as well. Tirukkurungudi, for example, it's one. Vanamamalai is another one. So these are all part of something of the so-called Pandyanadu Kshetrams, Pandyanadu Divya Desams, if you will, or Kshetrams. The Pandyanadu includes Madurai and places south. And of course, there are other very good temples near Madurai itself. There are 4 Azhvars who were born in the Pandyanadu, the Nammalvar and Madhurakavi Azhvar in the Tamaravarni region, and then Periyazhvar and Andal near Madurai in Srivilliputtur. So there are 4 great Azhvars who have been born in the Pandyanadu. So I think the next time you plan your Divya Desam itinerary, you should include Kshetrams that are in the Pandyanadu as well, okay? And I say that not just because I lived in Tirunelveli, but because they really are very important Kshetrams. So the Tirukkolur in near Tirunelveli, that is the Avatara Sthalam of Madhurakavi Azhvar. And the Perumal Kovil here is called Vaitama Nidhi Perumal. So I'll give you the Kshetra Puranam in just a moment. And it's one of the Navatirupatis. I've already mentioned that. And the Tirunakshatram of Madhurakavi Azhvar is Chittirai in Chittirai. That is the month of Chittirai, and the Nakshatram is also Chittirai. That's an interesting combination. We have another Azhvar, Tirumangai Azhvar, whose Tirunakshatram is Kartigayil Kartigai. That is the month of Kartigai, and the Nakshatram is also Kartigai. Whereas Sri Madhurakavi Azhvar, it's Chittirai in Chittirai. And in fact, in Upadesha Ratnamalai, Sri Manavala Mamunigal says, Yerar Madhurakavi Ivulagil Vanduditta Shirarum Chittirayil Chittirainar. So he refers to the fact that he was born in Chittirayil Chittirai. So I think that's in a way it's kind of easy to remember the Tirunakshatram of Madhurakavi Azhvar. And the thing that is most important about Madhurakavi Azhvar is that he was the illustrious Sishya and scribe of Sri Nammalvar. So he was a Sishya, but there's no doubt about that. And he was also the scribe in the sense that if you know the history of Sri Nammalvar, he spent practically all of his life under that famous tamarind tree, that so-called Tiruppuli Azhvar. That's the name of that tree itself. It's referred to as an Azhvar because it's also supposed to be an amsam of Adiseshan. So he spent practically all of his life under that Pudiyamaram, or under that tamarind tree. And so Madhurakavi Azhvar, Sri Nammalvar didn't speak at all for a very long time until Madhurakavi Azhvar appeared on the scene. And then they got to know each other. Madhurakavi Azhvar tested him to make sure that he was worthy of becoming his own Acharya. And Sri Nammalvar passed the test with flying colors. That's another story altogether. I don't want to get sidetracked by that story. But the bottom line is that Madhurakavi Azhvar became a Sishya or the Sishya of Sri Nammalvar. And he was a scribe as well. So all the Prabandhams of Sri Nammalvar essentially came through the hand of Madhurakavi. So Sri Nammalvar would recite it, and Madhurakavi Azhvar would write that down, and that's how we got them, okay? And then, so this was an exemplary Acharya Nishtai. Now, what exactly do we mean by that? Nishtai means dependence. So Madhurakavi Azhvar's relationship with Sri Nammalvar is a quintessential example of Acharya Nishtai. Nishtai is depending on the Acharyan, being devoted to the Acharyan, so much so to almost to the exclusion of Emperuman. So you will find that Madhurakavi Azhvar, he did not really praise Emperuman in his Prabandham or padigam, as you will see. He devoted all of his padigam, the entire Prabandham, to the praise of his Acharyan, that is Sri Nammalvar. And so we will say more about this. In fact, the entire avatarikai of Madhurakavi AzhvAr is going to be about this exemplary Acharya Nishtai, okay? And you will find that he spurned Emperuman even, in the sense that he, for example, in one of his pasurams, he says, Devu matrariyen kuruhu nambi. So I don't know of any god other than my Acharyan, which is Sri Nammalvar, Tirukkuruhur Nambi, that's the name for Nammalvar. I don't know of any god other than him. That's what he says. And this is a very interesting relationship. This whole idea of the Acharyan being very important is a very special attribute of Vaishnavism. And the thing that makes this relationship between Madhurakavi AzhvAr and Sri Nammalvar particularly interesting is that it transcends all the Varna and age barriers. What do I mean by that? Madhurakavi AzhvAr was an Andhanar, he was a Brahmin, so he belonged to that so-called first Varna. And Sri Nammalvar belonged to the fourth Varna. And so just imagine, so there's so much talk about jati and so on nowadays, but the fact that he was a Brahmin and he was the Sishya of someone belonging to the fourth Varna, that shows how much the Vaishnavism turns a blind eye to the Varna in which you are born. Okay, so in that sense, this relationship transcends the Varna barrier, and it also transcends the age barrier. So normally the Acharyan would be older than the Sishya, but in this case, Madhurakavi was much older than his Acharyan, who is Sri Nammalvar. And in fact, if you look at what the historians say, they would place the time period of the Acharyans as somewhere between the 5th and 9th century CE, not BC, but CE. But if you listen to the Sampradayam, the Vaishnava Sampradayam and the Vaishnava Sampradayam literature, you will see that Sri Madhurakavi AzhvAr was actually born in the Dwapara Yuga, towards the end of the Dwapara Yuga. Now, that was 5,000 years ago. The Kali Yuga was born roughly 5,000 years ago. And according to it, Sri Nammalvar was born in the first few days of the Kali Yuga, whereas the Madhurakavi AzhvAr, and in fact 3 other AzhvArs before him, they were born in the Dwapara Yuga. And in fact, according to the story, when Madhurakavi AzhvAr was born, Sri Krishna, who lived in the Dwapara Yuga, was still on this earth. And so Madhurakavi AzhvAr, he could have gone to the north and seen Bhagavan Krishna if he had tried. But you will see a poem later that makes up the reference to that. But anyway, so the point is that Madhurakavi AzhvAr was older than the Acharya that he took. And so in that sense, that relationship transcends the age barrier as well. Now, he has written only one Prabandham. Now, if you look at the output of the AzhvArs, the 12 of them, plus the Tiruvaranga Tamudanar, together they have written 4,000 pasurams that constitute the Nalayira Divya Prabandham. And if you look at the quantity of the output, at one end of the spectrum, you have the 2 very prodigious AzhvArs. Sri Nammalvar has the most pasurams, with more than 1,200 of them. And similarly, Tirumangai AzhvAr also has a very prodigious output, also more than 1,200. But at the other extreme is Tirupan AzhvAr with only 10 pasurams. And then next to him is Madhurakavi AzhvAr with 11 pasurams. But then, like I said before, the greatness of our AzhvAr is not measured by the number of pasurams that he has written. So in that sense, you shouldn't worry about it. This is more of a tidbit that I mentioned. So in his case, the Prabandham as well as the padigam are exactly the same. Normally, when you have a huge Prabandham, it's divided into individual padigams that are about 10 or 11 or 12 verses long. But when the whole Prabandham is only 11 verses long, there's no need to have multiple padigams. So in that sense, the Prabandham, the padigam, etc., they are just one in number, and they go by the name of the very first, the pasuram. The very first pasuram begins with the words kaNNinuN siruttAmbu. I'll describe the meaning of that when we talk about the meaning of the pasuram. But anyway, so when we talk about kaNNinuN siruttAmbu as a Prabandham, this is what we are talking about. The most interesting thing about this padigam is that it sings the glory of his Acharyan, which is Sri Nammarvar. It does not talk about the glory of Emperuman at all. So this is interesting, because when you talk about an Arvar, you would expect an Arvar to say a lot of things praising Emperuman, but not Madhurakavi Arvar. That's what makes him very, very unique. Okay, so it sings the glory of his Acharyan. And then, so in the sense, so it's more about an Arvar, not about Emperuman. So it will read more like a Thaniyan. What is a Thaniyan after all? For example, the Thiruvaimozhi Thaniyans. If you take Thiruvaimozhi Thaniyans, what exactly are the Thiruvaimozhi Thaniyans? Well, the Thiruvaimozhi Thaniyans are about the glory of Thiruvaimozhi and about the glory of the author of Thiruvaimozhi, so which is an Arvar, namely Sri Nammarvar. Whereas here, this is talking about the glory of his Acharyan. In other words, it's not talking about Emperuman. So the question is, if it feels like a Thaniyan, if the content is like a Thaniyan, why is it not considered a Thaniyan? Why is it included as pasurams in the Nalayira Divya Prabandham? Now, that's a very interesting question. Now, there are other examples as well of things, of pasurams that are not about Emperuman, but are still included in the Nalayira Divya Prabandham. For example, Ramanuja Nutrantadi, written by Thiruvarangat Tamudanar. That's another example. Now that one praises Bhagavat Ramanuja, doesn't praise the Emperuman directly, though it doesn't say anything negative about Emperuman, whereas the Madhurakavi Arvar's pasurams more or less go on to say, I don't care about Emperuman, I care only about my Acharyan. So you won't find that kind of a tone in Ramanuja Nutrantadi. But the point is, Ramanuja Nutrantadi is more about an Acharyan, not about Emperuman per se, but it's still included in the 4,000. And then there are also padigams that are about Bhagavatas, not about Emperuman, but about the glory of Bhagavatas. If you take Perumal Tirumuri, for example, you know that Perumal Tirumuri was written by Kulasekara Alvar. We have already learned Tarudoiram Tadayel from Perumal Tirumuri. So the second padigam in Perumal Tirumuri, so that one is about the Bhagavatas. So Tettarum Tiral, that's the name of that padigam. For example, I'll give you an example of one particular pasuram, the last two lines of the second pasuram in that second padigam. It says, Adipadi Arangavo Endarekkum Tundar Adipodi Adanam Peril Gangai Neer Kodaindadum Vedkai Ennavade. So what he says is, Adipadi Arangavo Endarekkum Tundar. So he talks about the Tundars or Bhagavatas of Sri Rangam Perumal. So what do? They adi, they dance, party, they sing. So they sing and dance, Arangavo Endarekkum, and then they call out the Sri Rangam Perumal as O Aranga. So that's what they do, what these Tundars or Bhagavatas do. They sing, they dance, they call out the name of the Sri Rangam Perumal. And so that's those are the Tundars. Tundar Adipodi Ada. So if you think about the dirt that they have kicked up by the process of dancing or just by walking on dirt, for example. So if we bathe ourselves in that dust, in the dust of their feet, that's what this means. Adipodi, podi means dust. Adil Ada. So if we bathe ourselves in the dust of the feet of those Bhagavatas, Tundar Adipodi Ada, when we bathe ourselves in that, if we get that chance, Nam Peril, if we get that bhagyam of bathing ourselves in that dust, in the dust of the Bhagavatas, then he goes on to ask a rhetorical question. He says, Gangai Neer Kudainda Adum Vetkai Enna Avade. In other words, if you get that bhagyam of bathing yourself in the dust of those Bhagavatas, then what will happen to our desire to go to the sacred Ganga river and have a dip there? So that's the rhetorical question. And of course, the meaning is that you don't really need to go to Ganga if you have the bhagyam of the good fortune of bathing in that in the dust of the feet of the Bhagavatas. So that's what he says. So it's essentially talking about how glorious it is to bathe in the dust, and even the dust which you would consider, negatively normally, dust of the feet. So he's saying that that is such a great blessing to bathe oneself in that. Now this whole padigam in Perumal Tirumari, the state Tarantiral, is about the glory of Bhagavata. So every verse will say something positive about the Bhagavatas. Now that is also included in the in the Nalayara Divya Prabandham. So you can see that not all the pasurams in the Nalayara Divya Prabandham are about Emperuman per se. Some of them are about the glory of Bhagavatas, and some of them are about the glory of Acharyas. Now it is the characteristic of Sri Vaishnavism that both the Bhagavatas and the Acharyas are held in great esteem, almost equal to Emperuman in many cases, and some would say even greater than the stature of Emperuman. And that's the reason that this is included, okay? Because Vaishnavism has always said that you can attain Paramapadam through your Acharyan, even if you don't pray directly to Emperuman. So to perhaps highlight that fact, this kaNNinuN siruttAmbu has been included in the Nalayara Divya Prabandham as well. So that's probably one of the most important things about the kaNNinuN siruttAmbu. It tells you, it kind of highlights that quintessential Acharya Nishtai that was practiced by madhurakavi AzhvAr. And to the extent that it is a very important aspect of Sri Vaishnavism, this has been included. So you can say that the inclusion of this padigam highlights the fact that you can achieve Paramapadam, or you can achieve salvation just through your Acharyan, even if you don't pray directly to Emperuman. And the second reason this padigam is very important is that it was very instrumental historically, according to the Sampradayam, in Sri Nathamuni regaining the 4,000 Divya Prabandhams. So in other words, the AzhvArs wrote the 4,000 Divya Prabandhams, and then after they were gone, there was a period of time in which those Prabandhams were lost to the world. And at that point, Sri Nathamuni heard one of those padigams of Sri Nammalvar, and that tickled his fancy. He really wanted to get all of the 1,000 that this was part of. It was basically part of Thiruvaimuri. So he went to Tirukkolur, he went to Madhurakavi's place and looking for it. And one of the descendants of Madhurakavi apparently told him that, well, I don't have the 1,000 pasurams, but however, I do have this kaNNinuN siruttAmbu. And if you think of it, if you do a japam of this kaNNinuN siruttAmbu 12,000 times, then something good will happen. And so Sri Nathamuni did that. And then according to the legend, Sri Nammalvar appeared in front of him and gave him not only the 1,000 that he thought the whole Prabandhams were, but he gave him 4,000. So that's what the story goes, okay? So anyway, so that is the second reason, and that's a very important reason as well for the glory of this particular Prabandham. And this Prabandham, this kaNNinuN siruttAmbu, is chanted before Thiruvaimuri Seva Kalam as well. So in other words, anytime the Thiruvaimuri is going to be recited, then before that, even before the Thiruvaimuri Thaniyans, that this padigam kaNNinuN siruttAmbu would be chanted as well. Okay, so anyway, so that's so the glory of this particular padigam that we are going to learn. Now, the Avatara Sthalam, the Tirukkolur, like I said, it's near Tirunelveli in the Tamrabarni Valley. Now, the Perumal there is known as Vaitamanidi Perumal, also known as Nishepa Vittan. Tayar is Kumudavalli and Kolur Valli Nachiyar. And according to the Puranas, the Sthala Puranams, Kuberan, the celestial Bill Gates, or I don't know if it should be celestial Ambani, but that celestial rich person, Kuberan, was cursed by Parvati for his amorous eye toward her. So as a result of that curse, he lost all of his wealth, and the wealth that he lost, they took refuge with Emperuman in Tirukkolur. So Emperuman was the guardian of the wealth that Kuberan lost, and so அந்த குபேரனுடைய நிதியை வைத்து காப்பாற்றினார். So வைத்து means he kept it and he protected it, and because of that it is called Vaita Ma Nidhi Perumal. Ma means great, Nidhi means of course treasure. So he took care of that big treasure when Kuberan was undergoing a penance for his misdeed. And then after he did his severe penance to Emperman, Kuberan received his wealth back from him there. So that's what the Sthala Puranam says. And the interesting thing is, with his left hand here, if you read it here, it says, with his left hand, Emperman is seen counting his wealth. So just like you and I would do, when we come across some money, so we'll be counting our bank balance. So similarly, Emperman is counting how much he has in his treasure. And because he measured wealth, including grains, so wealth is not just cash currency, it also includes material wealth like grains and so on. So because of that, his head apparently rests on a marakal. It's a cylindrical measure that was used to measure grains, measure the volume of grains. Anyway, so that's the Kshetram Tirukkolur Vaitamanidi Perumal Kovil. It is one of the Nava Tirupadis, and it is a Divya Desam. So which means that there's at least one Pasuram which does Mangala Shasanam to Perumal here. And in fact, so here's an example. This is a very famous Tiruvaimari Pasuram written by Sri Nammarvar as Parankusha Nayaki in Nayika Bhavam. And so this is actually in the form of a mother's anguish about Parankusha Nayaki, who has left her looking for her lover, namely Emperuman. So it says here, Unnum Soru Parugunir Thinnum Vettilayam Yellam Kannan Emperuman Endru Endre Kangal Neermalgi Manninul Avan Seer Valam Mikkavan Oor Venavi Thinnam En Yelaman Puhumboor Tirukkolure. So this is Tiruvaimari Pasuram. And so what the mother says here is that Unnum Soru, the food that one eats, Parugum Neer, the water one drinks, Thinnum Vettilai, the palm leaf that one consumes, all of these, Ellam Kannan Emperuman. So this daughter apparently has been saying repeatedly that all the food that she eats, all the water she drinks, all the palm leaf that anyone consumes, they are all Krishna. They are Emperuman, Endru Endre. So you see, Endru Endre means that's what she has been saying. If there was only one Endre, that would mean she said it once. But Endru Endre means that she was saying that repeatedly. Endru Endre, so she says that repeatedly. This is what the mother is saying. And Kangal Neermalgi, her eyes were raining tears, or were welling with tears, if you will. Kangal Neermalgi. Manninul Avan Seer Valam Mikkavan. So in other words, Seer Valam Mikkavan, her lover, Parankusha Nayaki's lover, is Seer Valam Mikkavan. He's a very glorious, sublime person. Manninul Avan Oor. So what exactly is the place where he resides on this earth? Manninul Avan Oor Venavi. Venavi means asking questions about it. So his mother is saying, my daughter has gone looking for him, asking people where exactly he lives. And this mother is now sure that she must have gone to Tirukkolur, because in Tirukkolur, Emperuman resides as Vaitamanidi Perumal. So she says, I'm very sure that that's where he has gone. Manninul Avan Seer Valam Mikkavan Oor Venavi Thinnam En Yelaman Puhumboor Tirukkolure. So look at the beautiful descriptor that she uses to refer to her daughter. The daughter is Parankusha Nayaki. Yen Ilaman. Man means deer. Ilaman means young deer. This little deer. So my little deer, that's how she refers to the Parankusha Nayaki. Puhumboor Tirukkolure. I'm sure that the place to which she has gone is Tirukkolur. Thinnam means Urudi. That is, I'm sure that that's where she has gone. Okay. So this is supposed to be a Mangala Shasanam of Tirukkolur. So anyway, so the next time you do visit Tamil Nadu, try to include these kshetrams in the south, in the deep south, I mean. Okay. Okay. Now, so the most important concept you will come across in this padigam, kaNNinuN siruttAmbu, is the idea of Acharya Nishtai. So the idea of depending on the Acharyan for your salvation, which is what Madhurakavi AzhvAr did. So let's talk about the glory of the Acharyan. So there'll be several slides on that. So you know that, the famous saying, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava, right? So what does it mean, Bhava? So be one who considers the mother as the God, be one who considers the father as God, and then be one who considers the Acharyan, the Guru, as God. Okay, so that's the part that is most interesting. So the Taittiriya Upanishad says that the Acharyan is the equivalent of God. So in other words, so the concept of the Acharyan being equivalent to God is not something that was invented by Madhurakavi AzhvAr. He is just the quintessential example of that concept. But that concept is as old as Sanatana Dharma itself, as old as Hinduism itself. And that's the point that I'm trying to illustrate by all of the slides. Okay, so for example, in Tamil, there's a piece of literature called Naruntohai, which says, Eruttarivittavan Irevan Ahum. So your teacher is equivalent to God. Eruttarivittavan Irevan Ahum. Now, if you look at it literally, it means one who taught you the alphabet. Eluthu Arivittavan Irevan Agum. So the one who taught you the alphabet, he is God. That's essentially what it says. But of course, Adi Shankara in his Bhajagovindam does not accept the secular knowledge as being very important. Yes, you certainly need it for your life on this earth. However, for life beyond, that's not what is going to help you. And that's what he said. Samprapte sannihite kale nahi rakshati dukrinya karane. So in other words, samprapte sannihite kale, that is when the appointed time comes, that is for you to leave this world. Nahi rakshati dukrun karane. So the dukrun karane means that the grammar rules. So that grammar rules, that's kind of a proxy for all secular knowledge. So it is essentially saying that all the secular knowledge that you have gained is not going to help you when that appointed time comes for you to leave this earth. Now, why am I saying that? In other words, if anyone who taught you the alphabet itself is equivalent to God, then according to Adi Shankara Bhagavad-pada, the one who taught you the secret to salvation, he is even at a much higher plane than the one who taught you the alphabet. The one who taught you the alphabet, that may not necessarily, he may not have given you any spiritual knowledge. But if he himself is God, then the one who gave you that spiritual knowledge is even more important than that, and certainly is equal to God, multiple times, if you will. Okay. Now, in our sampradayam, we say that what the parents give birth to is just our shariram, and it's the Acharyan who gives birth to our soul. Now, what exactly do we mean when we say that the Acharyan gives birth to our soul? Do we mean that if the soul is born at that moment? No, that's not what that's not what we mean. You know that in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says, "Na tvevaham jatanasam, na tvam neme janadhipa, na chaiva na bhavishyamaha, sarve vayamadah param." So in other words, he said, "Na tvevaham jatanasam," that there never was a time when I did not exist. Na tvam neme janadhipa, nor you, nor all these kings. So there never was a time when you or I or these kings did not exist. And then he goes on to say about the future, na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param. So he uses the famous double negatives. There never will be any time in the future when you or I or all these kings will not exist. Okay, so we know that the soul is not born, when you join an Acharyan and learn from him. What we mean is that the enlightenment of the soul is born when you go to an Acharyan and start learning from him. So that's what this giving birth, Acharyan gives birth to our soul. It means that. Okay, so the parents give birth to our shariram, and the Acharyan gives birth to our soul. And as a result, the one who gives birth to our soul, the one who gives us enlightenment, certainly is equivalent to Peruman. And then normally we say in Vaishnavism, we say when someone passes on, we say Acharyan Tiruvadigalai Adendar. In fact, we hardly even say Emperuman Tiruvadigalai Adendar. We almost always say Acharyan Tiruvadigalai Adendar. So in that sense, that also is a measure of how highly we place the Acharyan. And even if you looked at the Padutanians, for example, Ramanuja Dayapatram or Sri Shailesha Dayapatram, for example, they only talk about how this particular Acharyan was a receptacle of their Acharyan's mercy. So you don't see a piece there that says that they were a receptacle of Emperuman's mercy. You only see that they were a receptacle of their Acharyan's mercy. Why is that? Well, that's because that's good enough. Acharyan's mercy is good enough. You don't need the mercy of Emperuman, because Acharyan's mercy ensures that you will get the mercy of Emperuman as well. Okay? Okay. Now, so this idea of the Acharyan being very important appears in Srimad Ramayanam as well, in the Sabari Moksham section. So in Aranyakandam, when Rama and Krishna visit the hermitage of the ashram of Sabari, so the Sabari tells them the following. So she says, Tesham ichchami aham gantum samipam bhavita atmanam muninam ashramo yesham aham cha paricharini. So you know that when Sri Rama was visiting them, Sabari attained moksham, that she rose and ascended to the moksham when Sri Rama was there. So you might think that Sri Rama was responsible for her ascending to the moksham, but apparently Rama, that was not that case at all. Sri Rama was just a sakshi. He was just a witness to Sabari ascending to the moksham, and she got to moksham, or she was able to ascend to moksham by the strength of her service to her Acharyan. So that's the part that both what Sabari said makes very clear, and I'll also refer to something that Swami Desikan says in Raghuvira Gadyam. Okay, what does Sabari say? She says, Muninam ashramo, okay, Muninam ashramo yesham. That is the rishis to whom these ashrams belong. Aham cha paricharini. I served them. I was a servant to them. So I was a servant to the rishis that these ashrams belong to. And then samipam. So here samipam bhavita atmanam, to the proximity of those supremely realized souls. Samipam means proximity. Bhavita atmanam, to those supremely realized souls. Tesham ichchami aham gantum. I wish to go there. So she says, I want to go to the feet of my acharyans, and just on the strength of my service, and that's what she says. So she's not asking Rama, please give me moksham. She says, I'm going to the moksham because I'm going to the feet of my acharyans. Now in Raghuvira Gadyam, Swami Desikan emphasizes that same idea, namely the fact that Sri Rama was merely a witness. Okay, so he says, Avandya mahima munijana bhajana mushita hridaya kalusha Sabari moksha sakshi bhuta. So Avandya mahima munijana bhajana mushita hridaya kalusha Sabari moksha sakshi bhuta. So what does that mean? Avandya mahima munijana bhajana. Avandya means unblemished, mahima means glory, munijana rishis, bhajana serving. So serving the rishis who have unblemished glory. Then what did it do for Sabari? It mushita, it destroyed hridaya kalusha, blemishes of her heart. It destroyed the blemishes of her heart. And then Sabari moksha sakshi bhuta. To Sabari ascending to heaven, ascending to the moksha, you were a sakshi, or you who bore witness to that Sabari's ascent to the moksha. So Swami Desikan does not say Sabari gained moksham because of you. He merely says you were a witness to her gaining moksham. Now, why did she gain moksham? She gained her moksham entirely on the strength of her service to the Acharya. So that's the point that I want to make. So that's the point that is illustrated by Sri Madhurakavi AzhvAr's life and his Prabandham kaNNinuN siruttAmbu as well. So there'll be more examples in the next few slides. Because the glory of the Acharyan, you can keep on talking about it for a long time. So in Swami Desikan, in Daya Satakam, also it talks about the glory of the Acharyan, how they kind of serve as an in-between agent between Emperuman and you. So for example, so this is the pictorial this is the visual image that Swami Desikan has. So to him, there is this big, huge reservoir. I would call it an ocean, except that I would then later say there's a river that flows out from it, but then you would say, how can a river flow out from an ocean? So I'm going to call it a huge lake, like the Great Lakes, for example. So he starts by essentially saying that Srinivasa Perumal's daya, that is the mercy of Tiruvenkadamulayan, is like an ocean, except that here, to make the analogy more clear, I will say it's an extraordinarily large reservoir, like a Great Lake, for example. So that's this big blue body of water, so the lake of his mercy. Now, from that lake flows out a river, and in Swami Desikan's mind, that river is Acharya Parampara. So the Acharya Parampara brings the daya of Emperuman out from that great big reservoir. And then we are standing on the shores here. Now we cannot get access to that mercy that is flowing out as a river unless there were some ghats or paditturai, as we call it in Tamil. So there are some ghats, and these ghats are the individual acharyas. So that's the picture that Swami Desikan is drawing. Emperuman's mercy is as big as a huge, big lake, Great Lake, if you will. There is a river that flows out from it. That is, that mercy overflows as a river, and that river is the Acharya Parampara. And then to give us access to that river, there are these various ghats, and those ghats are the individual acharyas. So it's only through those individual acharyas we are able to bathe in that river of mercy, and by that we are able to enjoy the mercy of Emperuman. So you can see how the acharyas serve as a conduit for you to receive the mercy of Emperuman. Okay, so it says, Vigahe Tirtha Bahulam Shitalam Guru Santatim Srinivasa Dayambodhi Parivaha Paramparam. Okay, so for example, Srinivasa Dayambodhi, that is the Lord Srinivasa's daya or mercy is an ocean. So daya ambodhi, so the ambodhi means an ocean or a big lake, if you will. Parivaha Paramparam Guru Santatim, that means the lineage of acharyas is the river that flows out. And then that river is filled with ghats. So Tirtha Bhavulam, they are filled with ghats or individual acharyas. And that river is Shitalam, because it's the mercy of Emperuman, that's the river. So it's very cool. And that's what I immerse myself in. Vigahe means immerse. So I immerse myself in that because of these ghats here. So it is the acharyas that give us the ability to partake in the mercy of Emperuman. And that's what Swami Desikan says in Dayasatakam. Okay. So moving on, there's more to say about Acharyan. And in fact, Swami Desikan wrote a grantham. Grantham just means a literary work. He wrote a grantham called Nyasa Vimshati. Okay, so Nyasa Vimshati is one of several. Nyasa means prapatti. So Nyasa, Swami Desikan wrote Nyasa Tilakam, Nyasa Vimshati, and Nyasa Dasakam, for example. So Nyasa means prapatti. So he wrote multiple granthams about prapatti or sharanagati or surrender to Emperuman, explaining the principles of that surrender. And even in Tamil, he wrote something called Adaikala Pattu, which is also exactly a kind of a mirror image of Nyasa Dasakam. But anyway, so in one of those Nyasa granthams, called Nyasa Vimshati, number 2, Nyasa Vimshati, Slokam number 2, he talks extensively about how an Acharyan is exactly like an Emperuman. It is exactly like the Emperuman. So again, I've used the color code to give you, to help you understand the meaning of the Sanskrit passage. So you can match the color of the meaning here with the color of the original slokam. So for example, he says, Ajnana Dvantarodhat. So because what does that mean? He dispels the darkness of ignorance. Now, who is he talking about? He's actually talking about the Acharyan, but he's finally going to say, because of all these reasons, the Acharyan is exactly like the Emperuman. So the Emperuman also does these things. So Emperuman dispels the darkness of ignorance. So for example, the very first pastram in Thiruvaimuri, of Sri Nammalvar. He says, Mayarvara Madinalam Arulinan Yavan Avan. That Mayarvara Madinalam. So that Madi means Jnanam. So he gave that Jnanam. So Swami, Nammalvar says, Emperuman gave him that Jnanam, that he dispelled that darkness of ignorance, and he gave him that Madhi and Nalam. Nalam means bhakti, Madhi means the wisdom, if you will, wisdom or jnanam. So you can see that what Nammalvar says about Emperuman is also true of acharyas in general. So that's the point that Swami Desikan is making. He dispels the darkness of ignorance. You can substitute Emperuman for he, or you can substitute the acharyan for he, and the statement would still be true. Okay, so ajnana dhvanta rodhat. So that's the first part. And then the second one is agha pariharanat. So agha pariharanat, it means he removes our sins. Okay, for example, in Tiruppanazhvar says in Amalnadipiran, Varamaya Paravinai Patraruttu Ennaittan Varamaki Vaittan Vaitadendri Ennul Pugundan. So that Varamaya Paravinai Patraruttu, he removed all those very heavy sins that were weighing me down from my past births. So that's what he did, says Tiruppanazhvar, and then he took me to his side. Varamaya Padavinai Pattaruttu Ennaittan Varamaki Vaitan. That Varamaya Padavinai Pattaruttu, that's exactly what this is talking about. Agha Pariharanat, because he removes our sins. And again, that because he removes our sins, that he could be Emperuman or the Acharyan, and it would still be true in both cases. And then thirdly, it says Atma Samyavahatvad. So he says number 3, because he creates a resemblance to himself in us in terms of having good gunas, jnanam, etc. Right? Of course, we can never be Emperuman because there are some gunas that only he can have. By definition, we Jivatmas can never have those, but there are some others that we can try to come near him in terms of having those gunas, kalyana gunas. So anyway, he says because he creates a resemblance to himself in us. That's what this one means here. And then the fourth one is interesting. He says, Janma Pradvamsi Janma Pradak Garimataya. So this is interesting. So Janma Pradvamsi Janma, the birth that destroys the birth. So you see, I told you that the Acharyan gives birth to our Atma in the sense that he enlightens he gives birth to enlightenment of our Atma. And that, so if you think of that as birth, that birth destroys another birth. What other birth does it destroy? It destroys the births of our samsara sagaram, the cycle of birth and death that we go through. It destroys that. So Janma Pradvamsi Janma Prada Garimataya. So it says here, because of his glory, that he gives birth to enlightenment that destroys our future births. So that again is something that is common to both the Emperuman as well as the Acharyan. For example, in Peyarvar in Mundram Tiruvantadi says, Indre Kadal Ganden Yel Pirappum Yan Arutten. Yel Pirappum Yan Arutten. I cut off all future births, he says. That's Peyarvar saying in Mundram Tiruvantadi. And that's exactly what this is about. Indre Kadal Ganden. So I took refuge in Emperuman's feet. And as a result of that, I cut off all of my future births. That's exactly what this Janma Pradvamsi Janma Prada Garimataya means. And then Divya Drishti Prabhavat, because of his glory of giving us divine kataksham. Again, he is both Emperuman as well as the Acharyan. Okay, and then Nishpratyuha Anrusamsyat. Nishpratyuha Anrusamsyat. So that one here, because he showers unimpeded mercy on us. And then Niyata Rasaya, because he's always sweet. And then Nitya Sheshitva Yoga, because he's always a Lord to us. And again, this is both the Acharyan and Emperuman. So because of all of these reasons, so he enumerates all the things that are common between the Acharyan and Emperuman. And then he comes to his conclusion. He says, because all these things are common to both of them, the Acharyan by good disciples, so the Acharyan by good disciples, with the thought that this is not a return favor, for one can never return a favor as great as the Acharyan's favor or Emperor's favor. So with that thought that this is not a return favor, this Acharyan is worthy of being worshipped like Emperor. So that's what this last line says here, Acharya Sadhir Apratyupakarana Dhiya Devavat Syat Upasyaha. So it means the Acharyan, by good disciples, with the thought that this is not a return favor, is worthy of being worshipped like Emperor. In other words, when you worship as a Shishya, when you worship your Acharyan, it's not because you want to return the favor that the Acharyan gave you. Okay, so for example, the Swami Desikan describes that what the Acharya does for you in Rahasya, Srimad Rahasya Trayasaram, he says, Andru Indra Kandrukku Irangi Surakkum Tenuvai Pole. Andru Indra Kandrukku, to a calf that is just born, Irangi Surakkum Tenuvai Pole. A cow pours milk from its udder, and it happens automatically because it has so much love towards that particular the child of itself. And similarly, the Acharyan also has so much love towards his disciple. So Andriyendra Kandrukku Irangi Churakkum Tenuvai Pola. So this is something that it does automatically, and this is not something that you can repay. So for example, Tyagaraja Swami says, Dasharate Ni Runamu Dirpana. So the son of Dasharatha, will I ever be able to repay my debt to you? Dasharate Ni Runamu Dirpana, he says. Okay. And in fact, there's a song in the movie called To Serve with Love. It says, how do you thank someone who has taken you from crayons to perfume? When the kids are leaving the school, after graduation, they're singing about the teacher who taught them a lot. And they say, how do you thank someone who has taken you from crayons to perfume? Well, crayons here is a metaphor for childhood, and perfume is a metaphor for adulthood. So they're essentially saying, how do you thank someone who has taken you from crayons to perfume? Well, if that itself is so difficult, how do you thank someone who has taken you from crayons all the way to salvation? So that's the kind of work that an Acharyan has done, and it's not something that you can ever return by way of a return favor. And so anyway, so for all these reasons, and the Acharyan is worthy of being worshipped, just like Emperor, he says. Okay. Now, one more example. Now, in Ramayanam, you remember the story of Vibhishana Sharanagati. So Vibhishana at some point decides that he cannot stay with Ravana because he is beyond reason. So he decides to come and surrender to Sri Rama. And he comes not just by himself, he comes with 4 other Rakshasas. So you can see that in the picture. So he comes and surrenders not only for himself, but on behalf of the Rakshasas as well. And so when he does that, there's a great debate that ensues among Sri Rama, Sugriva, and all the monkeys and Lakshmana about whether to accept that surrender request and let Vibhishana join them or not. And so this is how it happens. So I'm going to quote some slokas from the Valmiki Ramayana. And then I'll tell you an interesting story from the life of Bhagavat Ramanuja that Naval Pakman Swamigal quotes as an interesting example. So here is Vibhishana, he says in Yuddhakanda, he says, reviled by Ravana and humiliated as a slave, I, leaving my sons and wife, have come to take refuge with Rama. So you have to really feel sorry for Vibhishana here, because he is renouncing all of his the worldly possessions here in some sense, and not only the material wealth, but also his close kith and kin. He's leaving his sons, he's leaving his wife, etc., and he has come to take refuge with Rama. So that's what Vibhishana says. And then that great debate starts, and that debate goes over 2 sargams of Valmiki Ramayana, the 17th and the 18th sargam, for example, for this case. And Sugriva weighs in with his opinion. He says, belonging to the enemy force, here is an adversary taking us unawares, who unexpectedly has come here to slay us at the first opportunity. And then he reaches into his bag of analogies and he says, like an owl destroying crows. Okay, so that's what Sugriva says. So you can see that he was not exactly in favor of Vibhishana's surrender being accepted. So he says, he has come to slay us at the first opportunity. And he's like an owl that likes to destroy crows, he says. Now, Angada is a son of Vali. And Angada says deceitful, he's also negative. So he says deceitful persons move around concealing their peculiar nature and attack at weak places. They will create a very great misfortune, he says. So you can see that that's the overall, that's a negative statement as well. And Jambavan is supposed to be the old and the wise one. But look at what he says. He says this Vibhishana, he came from sinful Ravana, who has contracted hostility with you, and that too at a wrong place and time. He is to be suspected by all means, okay, he says. So you can see that the final verdict that he pronounces is a negative one as well. And then, of course, Lakshmana also weighs in, and I haven't quoted him here, but you can imagine Lakshmana is always, his first priority is to protect Sri Rama, so everything else is secondary to him. So even if there is a 1% chance that, even if there's a 99% chance it would be a genuine surrender, he's not going to take that 1% risk. Anyway, I've not quoted him, but he also weighs in negatively. But then Hanuman is the only one who seems to say something positive about Vibhishana. He says a deceitful person does not approach so fearlessly and confidently. His expression too is not bad. Hence, there is no doubt to me on him. Okay, so you can see that that's a kind of a positive statement. Now, ultimately, Sri Rama weighs in because he was asking everybody else's opinion, even though he had already formed his opinion, formed an opinion about this surrender. And this is the interesting one, So some people say, with good humor, that Rama is not the one who is capable of telling stories. Between Sri Rama and Sri Krishna, who is the one who is capable of telling stories? Well, Sri Krishna has more friends. He's the one who will fool around with his friends. He's the one who is capable of regaling them with stories, etc. Rama is too serious to tell any story. But the thing is, he does refer to a story here without actually telling that story. So he says, Sri Rama says, you have heard the story of the pigeon or the dove, that when a hunter who had already killed its mate came back and took refuge under that tree, then it decided to treat him as a refugee, as one who surrendered, and because he was suffering a lot, so he decided to offer its own meat by way of observing the rules of hospitality. So he says here, it's been heard how by a dove or a pigeon, when its enemy, a hunter, came for refuge, he was received according to rules of hospitality and invited for a feast with his own flesh. So the story is that a hunter comes to the forest, and he sees this dove along with its mate. The mate is female. So, and then he kills that female and then takes it home. And of course, the family has a feast on that. And he comes back again later, now for more hunting. He comes to the tree in which that remaining the mate lives. And then by that time, it was dark, it was very cold, it was, whatever, all the weather, the elements were not at their best. And so he was shivering, he was very hungry, etc. So he takes refuge under the tree, and then he starts a fire to keep himself warm. And the sole remaining dove or pigeon sees in the bad condition that he is in, and the fact that he is surrendered at the feet of the tree, and therefore, like a good host, it decides that he should be treated like a guest. And the only way in which this dove can offer his hospitality to that hunter is by offering his own meat. So he plunges into that fire and kills himself, thereby becoming a feast for that hunter. So Sri Rama refers to that story, and he says, look, that dove or that pigeon, when even that pigeon had sense enough to know that when someone surrenders, that surrender needs to be accepted. And so when even that, the five sense animal or bird knows what to do, how do you expect one with six senses not to know that? Will the world not talk ill of me if I turn back Vibhishana? Therefore, I'm going to accept his surrender. Okay, so anyway, so that's It's a beautiful story. So he will accept the surrender of Vibhishana. But the important thing is, this story was talked about in one of the Upanyasams in Bhagavad Ramanuja's group. And so apparently one of his Sishyas was he was unsure about what this meant. For example, he said to Bhagavad Ramanuja, he said, this Vibhishana was a very great learned man. He's a man of great virtue. He's a man who was extremely learned. And even his surrender was not accepted immediately. It was debated at length. And now, when I look at myself, this Sishya says, I'm no comparison to Vibhishana. So when I surrender, if Vibhishana had to go through so much analysis before he was accepted, I have no chance at all, he says. I have no chance of being accepted. I have no chance that my surrender will be accepted by Emperuman. And so he was concerned about that. But Bhagavad Ramanuja said, you are making the wrong comparison. You are comparing yourself with Vibhishana. That's not the comparison you should be making. You should be comparing yourselves to those 4 Rakshasas who came with him, because their guru is Vibhishana, their Acharyan, if you will, is Vibhishana. So it was the Acharyan's credentials that were being debated. Once that Acharyan was accepted, there was never any debate about whether to accept these 4 Rakshasas or not, the 4 Rakshasas who came with him or not. They were accepted immediately. So you, by being the Sishya of an Acharya, your credentials are beyond any inspection. So once your Acharyan is accepted, once his surrender is accepted, your surrender is going to be automatically accepted. So that's the key thing here. So only the Acharyan's credentials matter, not the Sishyas. Isn't that very gratifying for people like us who have committed a lot of sins in our lives? Because once you surrender to an Acharyan, you don't have to worry about whether you are good enough for your surrender to be accepted. Your Acharyan's credentials will take care of you, okay? So that's the beauty. That's a lesson from the story of Vibhishana Sharanagati. Again, like I said, Navalpakam Swami makes a beautiful mention of it. By the way, I think that there are many interesting sources about all Divya Prabandhams in general. So I may not mention the sources because usually there are too many of them. But I think in this particular context, I will mention the Navalpakam Swamigal and Uttamur Swamigal in particular. I think they have done a great service by giving very good interpretations of madhurakavi's kaNNinuN siruttAmbu. Okay, now just a couple of more slides. Okay, so this is probably the last slide on the Acharya Nishthai. So he says, so there's one quote, probably from some Upanishad. It says, like a bee that gathers honey from several flowers over several days, the Acharyan gathers divine knowledge from several wise men over several days or several years, and steers and guides his Sishyas while serving as a model himself. Like I said, that's what is so great about the Acharyan. So he's being compared to a bee. And remember that when we were talking about Anchiraya Madanarai, so where Paramkrishna Nayaki was trying to send various birds and bees as her messenger. So one of them was as a bee or a bumblebee, if you will. And so this is the kind, and I said at that point that the animal or bird or the insect that was being sent as a messenger was really a proxy for the Acharyan. So in fact, this is why the bee is a good proxy for an Acharyan, because it does some things that are similar to what an Acharyan does as well, okay? Now, there's another interesting one here. This also must be from an Upanishad, an unknown Upanishad at this time. So it says here, Chakshur Gamyam Gurum Tyaktva, Shastra Gamyam Tuyaksmaret, Karastham Udakam Tyaktva, Ghanastam Abhivanchati, okay? So that's what it says here, Chakshur Gamyam. So it gives a beautiful analogy. So what it says is, one who has a guru right in front of his eyes, one who can see a guru right in front of his eyes, but then simply overlooks him, simply abandons him, and then instead surrenders to Emperuman, whom he has not even seen before. So the contrast between the guru and Emperuman is that Guru, he can see. He can Sakshat Guru right in front of his eyes, he can see. But Emperuman, he cannot see. So if a person sees a Guru right in front of his eyes, but instead of surrendering to him, simply abandons him and instead surrenders to the Emperuman, who is known only through the Shastras, then that is stupid. That is stupid, it says. It is as stupid as, and then it gives an analogy, it's as stupid as someone who abandons the water in his hands and longs for the water in the dark clouds. It's a very beautiful analogy. Chakshur gamyam gurum tyaktva. Tyaktva means abandon. For example, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says to Arjuna, Sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. O Dhananjaya. Sangam means attachment or association or attachment. Tyaktva, so renouncing. So renouncing attachment, Dhananjaya, do this, okay? And then he will go on to explain how you should do the yoga. So tyaktva means renouncing. So chakshurgamyam gurum tyaktva. Chakshurgamyam, the one who is accessible to the chakshu means eyes. So chakshurgamyam gurum tyaktva, the guru that you can see right in front of your eyes, renouncing him, tyaktva. Shastra gamyam tuya smaret, the one who is only visible through the Shastras. Shastra gamyam tuya smaret. Smarana, smarana means to think of that, think of him. So thinking of the Emperuman who is only visible through the Shastras, that is like the following. That is like karastham udakam tyaktva. Udakam means water. Karastham means in the hand. Tyaktva. So renouncing the water in his hands. Tyaktva ka. Ghanastham abhivanchati. Abhivanchati means long or desire for. Ghana means cloud. So longing for the water in the dark clouds. It's a very beautiful one. So I think that the point is, the guru is someone that you can see in everyday life, and he is there for your help any moment. Why aren't you surrendering to him? Why are you instead trying to surrender directly to Emperuman? That's effectively what this is saying. Okay. And finally, in Swami Desikan, in Adhikara Sangraham. So Adhikara Sangraham is a grantham of Swami Desikan in Tamil. In some sense, it's supposed to be a kind of a synopsis of one of his magnum opus, if you will, the Srimad Rahasya Trayasaram. And in there, he has a particular verse about madhurakavi. This is the second half of that verse. So he says, Anbarke avadarikum. So he's talking about madhurakavi AzhvAr. Anbarke avadarikum ayan nirka. Arumareigal Tamil Seidan Tale Kondu. Tunbatra madhurakavi thondra kattum. Tolvariye nalvarigal tunivar gatke. So it's interesting. He says here, I'll go through the English meaning here and then I'll go through the line by line meaning. That cowherd Krishna, who was born specifically for the sake of Bhagavatas, he is standing there ready to help the Bhagavatas. But Madhurakavi ignored him completely because he said, I don't want Emperuman. I don't care about Emperuman. He sought the feet of the one who created the Vedas in Tamil. That's referring to Sri Namarvar. That blemishless Madhurakavi showed very clearly that age-old path. So remember this. So he's saying that this is not a path that Madhurakavi trailblazed. This path has already been set in Sanatana Dharma. He just gloriously illustrated it. That blemishless Madhurakavi showed clearly the age-old path. And that's the best for those who are determined to leave the samsara. So that's what he says here. Anbarke avadarikum ayan nirka. This is a reference to Krishna. Ayan refers to the cowherd Krishna. Now, there are a couple of meanings here. So literally it means that cowherd Krishna, who was born specifically for the Bhagavatas. Anbar means Bhagavatas. Avadarikum, he was born specifically for the Bhagavatas. Nirka, he was standing ready to help. Madhurakavi ignored him. Right? Now, there are two meanings. Right? One is you can say, even for us who live in the Kali Yuga, you can say, well, Krishna is standing ready to help us, right? But in the case of, if you believe the Sampradayam's version of when Madhurakavi was born towards the end of Dwapara Yuga, when Krishna was still very much on this earth. So in that sense, the idea of Krishna being available and ready to help Madhurakavi, that has an even greater meaning. He was physically on this earth at that time. So that's, a second meaning for this, Anbarke avadarikum ayan nirka, that Krishna was standing ready to help him, and that Krishna was born entirely to help the Bhagavatas. Now, there's something interesting people say about Krishna Avataram compared to, say, Nrisimha Avataram, for example. If you look at the Prahlada Charitram, Nrisimha Avataram, now when the Nrisimha Avataram was taken essentially to kill Prahlada's father, Hiranyakashipu, right? Now, but he took that Avataram and he kind of instantly achieved his end, and that's it. So that was the Avataram's purpose was achieved almost as soon as the Nrisimha appeared on this earth. But Krishna Avataram is not like that. Krishna Avataram, the alleged purpose of Krishna Avataram was to reduce the bhara of this earth. The bhara is the weight of the earth. Now, that doesn't mean that the earth was overpopulated, so there were too many people, etc. Nothing of that sort. It was just that the people had accumulated too many sins, and therefore that the bottom of the earth had to be lowered, and that's how Krishna Avataram was taken. No, but if you look at this, so it's not like Nrisimha Avataram. It's not that he was born and then 5 minutes later he took care of business and then went back to Paramapadam. No, that was not like that at all. He took his own sweet time. He grew up in Gokulam in the Ayar party. He took the time to become friends with a lot of the local cowherds and so on, to enchant the gopis and so on. So you see, that makes it very clear that so in fact one of the Upanyasakas says this, that even though the stated purpose of Krishna Avataram was to reduce the load, the burden on this earth, the papas of the people on this earth, the actual purpose of Krishna Avataram was to befriend the Bhagavatas and to show Perumal's saulabhyam. Saulabhyam is his humility, is edimai as they say in Tamil. So his humility, his accessibility, etc. And that is the sole purpose of that Krishna Avataram. He is to show that he is accessible, he is simple, etc. And if Krishna did that extremely well, and such an Avataram being available for Madhurakavi to take advantage of, he simply said, no, nothing doing. I'll wait for my Acharyan to appear in AzhvAr Tirunagari, and I'll go through him. So that's what it means here. Anbarke avadarikum ayan nirka. Arumaraigal Tamil Seidan, the one who rendered the Vedas in Tamil, avanudaya thale kondu, surrendering at his feet. Tunbatra means blemishless Madhurakavi, Thondra Khattum, that is the path that he showed very clearly. That Tol Variye, Tol means old, ancient, Vari, that Margam or means. That path is a very old path. That is he showed that path very clearly. Nalvarigal Tunivargatke, and that is the best for those Tunindavargalukke. Tunindavargalukke simply means who are determined to leave the samsara and achieve salvation. Okay, so that's what Swami Desikan says in Adhikara Sangraham. And finally, an example from Srimad Rahasya Trayasaram itself. So Swami Desikan gives a lot of analogies in Srimad Rahasya Trayasaram. He says, so one of these examples is, Oru malayil nindrum, oru malayile tavum, simha sariratil jantukalai pole. So he says, think of a lion that jumps from one hill to another, and then think of all the jantus that are on its skin. So when the lion jumped from one hill to another, effectively the jantus on its skin, they jumped from that one hill to the other as well, even though they didn't really do any jumping at all. Okay, so in a similar way, the Sishyas who surrender at the feet of an Acharyan, so when the Acharyan achieves Paramapadam, or when the Acharyan it is given that when his surrender is accepted, the surrender of the Sishyas are also accepted. So this kind of goes back to the Vibhishana story. So it's not, Vibhishana's 4 Rakshasas were admitted on the basis of Vibhishana's strength. Similarly, the Jantus that were on the lion's skin, they were able to jump from one hill to the other simply on the strength of the lion's ability, not on their own ability. In a similar way that the Shishyas who hang on to an Acharya, will achieve Paramapadam as well. So will achieve salvation as well. Okay, so all of this is intended to show that the Acharya Nishtai, which is the fundamental message of this kaNNinuN siruttAmbu padigam, that very, very important. In Sri Vaishnavism, even the prapatti that we do, the surrender that we do, is usually through an acharyan, is usually to an acharyan or through an acharyan. So that's the point that this whole padigam is going to make. So I've taken a great deal of time to illustrate that acharya nishtai, and from this point onwards, we'll be able to get into the pasurams, the taniyans and the pasurams, and I'll be able to go over them very quickly, because the idea behind this kaNNinuN siruttAmbu has been illustrated by this fairly long avatarika. Okay, so I think I will stop at this point. So I'll finish off with the Charama Slokam. Let me bring that Charama Slokam and Mangalam. So you can say this Charama Slokam with me. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchah mangalam kosalendraya mahaniya gunadhaye chakravarti tanujaya sarvabhaumaya mangalam. Okay, sarvam krishnarpanamastu. I'm going to stop the recording.